And alrighty, folks, welcome along to another episode of Martin's World. Guys, it is Wednesday, midweek. Hope everybody's doing good out there. It's the first week back at 420 News, second episode of the year. So we're coming along, we're getting along, and I hope you're all hanging on out there with me. Guys, just before we get into it, if you'd like to support the show, if you'd like to support the fight for cannabis legalisation in Ireland, you can sign up for the patreon.com/Martin's World, or you can make a donation in the form of Bitcoin also through the link up in the top corner there, martinsworld.ie. So you can make donations there in the form of Bitcoin through there. And again, all the money that will be generated there will be used to either improve the show a little bit or to create a cannabis activist hub here in Cork City to bring together the cannabis activists and the cannabis community so we can socialise and have ourselves better represented when it comes to policies that are going to be made that will affect our community. Because that is incredibly important that we are united and we are communicating with one another, because policies will be made, and just believe me, they will be made. Cannabis will be legalised, but we need to be together, organised and well represented so that the policies made are reflective of the community's needs. So guys, thanks everybody for tuning in anyway, as we do, and we'll get on with the news. So the first piece of news I have for you today is within Ireland, and it's we touched on it there last week, and it was in relation to a raid that happened in Waterford. So on Monday, somebody in the comments had noted that this raid had taken place below there, and there was €130,000 worth of cannabis plants seized. I shared the article there, or a post about the article anyway, and kind of shared my opinion a little bit on it. But just to share the article with you, it was a 46-year-old man has been arrested after drugs with an estimated street value of 130,000 were seized in County Waterford on Monday night. Gardaí carried out a search of a house in Lismore Park around 9 p.m. and they discovered what they described as a large growing facility which was ventilated and insulated to grow cannabis. A total of 183 cannabis plants were seized, and all at a different stage of growth, and the cannabis plants have an estimated street value of €130,800. One man was arrested at the scene and was taken to Waterford Garda Station, where he is currently being held. So, what a waste of time. While, there's people pointed out that, this isn't a personal grow. But I'm not saying this is a personal grow at all. That this was a guy who started growing cannabis, and had he the opportunity to, maybe he actually would have, got a license and grown it had he had an opportunity to. But our government, the ignorance of them, they won't allow people to do it. So we've people forced to do things like this, to take risks, because the rewards are so great, to be honest. You see the value of those plants there. Tell me any other plants you can grow that will get you such a return. There's very little of them out there that you can grow and grow so well as cannabis, and have such a large demand for it too. It's incredibly tempting for the people out there in that kind of a scene. One sec there now. Sorry, I just hit a button, and I'm just trying to get the other images up here for you, but it doesn't seem to be changing. Here we go. There we go. Yeah, now I'm able to change them. So these are all the cannabis plants that were seized inside of there. So you can see there was 3 lights, and then you have 5 by 3 underneath each light. So they have 15 plants underneath each light. They've run the left-hand side of the room, and it looks like they've replicated also on the other side of the room when you look at the next picture here. And they're fine-looking cannabis plants. In fairness, you see the bud just above my head here. There it is. That one. Look at that. That's an amazing-looking flower. That's beautiful. It's quite a sight to see. I've seen a number of cannabis plants in my day. The first I seen was over in Amsterdam, and they're quite a sight to behold, and the smell of them, it's amazing. If you're into that sort of thing, I know other people who will smell the plant and they're putrefied by it. It's horrible to some people, but to others it's rather appealing. And it's interesting as well, the diversity of smells that can kind of come off of the plant based off of the genetics of it. You have some plants that can smell like lemons, some that can smell like oranges. It's amazing the potential that's out there, and I will highly recommend to people that if you're not already doing so, grow your own. Don't do what this guy done and have a complete room kitted out. Just get one of these lights. One little light in one corner of your room is all you need, and grow maybe 1 to 4 plants would be my recommendation under the current climate of the law, and grow them incredibly well. If you're going to grow one plant, give it a good veg period, grow it nice and big and bushy before you flip it over into the flowering stage. If you're going to grow 4, you need a little bit of a shorter flowering time or vegetative time, and then you can flick it into flower a bit sooner. So I that would be my recommendation, is 1 to 4 plants out there, guys, for personal grow. Even 1 to 4 plants, it's going to produce more than enough cannabis that will see it through until your next harvest. Over time, if you were to be growing 4 plants every 3 months, which would be the life cycle of a plant, by the end of the year you would have a surplus of weed, because you won't be able to smoke all that you can grow every 3 months. So that's just my recommendation, guys. Know your source and grow your own. So people like this don't have to, the demand is just so incredibly high. Pardon the pun. But it is really, really high out there, like the amount of people who are looking for cannabis. But guys, it's so simple just to grow your own. There's numerous grow shops around the place. You can order the equipment online. It will be sent discreetly to your house, and or to a friend's house that you're not going to be growing at, and then bring the gear to your own house if you're really worried and want to take all those extra precautions. But really, like, I just can't say it enough. Just grow your own, guys, and know your source. If anything, know where your cannabis is coming from. Try to know the grower if at all possible. It's very important. Like, this guy could be growing this stuff here, and he could be using all sorts of unknown chemicals if he's not consuming it himself. So if you know the grower and he's consuming it himself, and he's somewhat educated about what he's doing, then you can trust his product. And until we get a legal regulated market where you can go out and actually meet the growers, it's going to be very difficult to do that. So the best way to achieve it is be your own supplier, producer. 4 plants, more than enough. It'll take you 3 months from seed to finish to do it. A light, a carbon filter, a fan is all you need, guys. It will cost you less than 200 quid, I'd say, to get all the equipment that you need. Maybe 300 tops. But hopefully this guy, doesn't get too badly punished. We've a bill up before the government there soon, and it'll be interesting to see what will happen to people like this. I would argue this guy, he shouldn't, if cannabis is to be legalised going forward, he should have any criminal record that will be applied to him furthest removed. Guys, you can't blame the guy for this. It's so fucking tempting. It really is so fucking tempting. Like, look at these plants, like, and you look at the value that they put on them, €800 per plant. But in reality, like, if he got more than 2 ounces off of a plant here, the current street value of the cannabis, if he was selling it in the right quantities, he could be getting €400 to €500 per ounce. Because that's kind of the rate at the moment. There's not too many people out there able to get cannabis now at €300 an ounce, which would have been the price, the average price of an ounce before. If you were lucky, you got it cheaper for that. But currently, I'm hearing people paying upwards of €150 for 7 grams of cannabis. That's €600 an ounce. That's crazy, guys. So just, grow your own. Seriously, it's an amazing investment. And again, I was working in a grow shop, guys, and I'll just put it out there that it's a needle in a haystack for these guards. The amount of people who are actually growing out there, you're a needle in a haystack to them. They could go and raid a house every day for the next 3 years, and they still won't have raided every grower that exists in just Cork County alone. So that just, just throwing it out there, guys. Grow your own. So people like this don't really have that. Other news, guys, there was some unfortunates got caught with some cannabis earlier today, or was it yesterday actually, or possibly earlier today, in Cork. They got caught with €75,000 worth of cannabis herb. That was yesterday in Cork City. So as part of an ongoing investigation targeting the sale and supply of drugs in Cork City, Gardaí from the Divisional Drugs Unit stopped the car on the Bandon Road at around 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening. The car was searched and the suspected cannabis herb with an estimated street value of 60,000 was found. The two male occupants of the car, both aged in their 20s, were arrested and brought to Toker Garda Station, where they are currently detained under Section 2 of the Criminal Justice Act. As part of the investigation, a follow-up search was later carried out at a house in the Lock area of Cork City. During the course of that search, then a further €15,000 worth of cannabis was found. All of the suspected drugs will now be sent to the lucky guys at the Forensic Science Ireland, who are going to roll up many dubs and testing that stuff out the back. Go on, like, it's crazy that they send us cannabis to be tested. Like, what do they need to test it for? Like I would love it if they would start releasing analysis of these samples that they're sending. Like what's in them? There was a really good Vice documentary I watched there yesterday. It was based in, I think it was in Germany or somewhere, and it was on about the contaminated cannabis that's out there, where people over there now are looking for the toxic weed, as they were calling it on this documentary. But it was basically a pure, poor quality cannabis that would have been acquired for maybe as little as €1 a gram. And they're spraying it then with synthetic cannabinoids and selling it on then as a more stronger product afterwards. And people are becoming addicted to that because of the chemical nature of the compounds being added to it. So it's a massive danger. And when our Gardaí don't release any information like this at all to the public, they'll seize cocaine, they'll seize tablets, they'll seize heroin, and there's very little indication given out. Like in terms of harm reduction information, you know, guys, we seized a block of hash earlier on and we found it was soaked in diesel. Like, remember all that diesel hash was going on, but did you ever see the media get out a report to warn people about the danger of smoking this cannabis or this hash that was contaminated with diesel? I'm not aware of any articles, like, so forgive me if I'm wrong on that, like, but I'm really not aware of it. The only people I know that were getting that information out to people were the consumers themselves. Geez, man, that was a bad period. Like, that was a good 2 or 3 years there of that diesel hash that was around the place, and the squidgy black. You remember? Oh man, that was rotten. Holy shit, like, thank God that stuff isn't around anymore. Like, those were bad days. And then it was quickly followed, the bad hash days was followed by the bad weed days that lasted also for about another year or two, maybe even 3 here in Ireland, where the cannabis was being sprayed with things like fiberglass and having glass and sand added to it, like, and all sorts of nasty shit, like, just to add weight to the product to make it look a bit better than what it was. Absolutely ridiculous. And again, like, there was very little harm reduction information getting out there to the consumers. Do you know, if our public policy is to protect public health, prohibition is counterproductive to that aim. Really is. Like, when you look at it, the products people are getting on the street, it's the prohibition isn't stopping that happening. It's stopping happening is I'm getting their hands on a quality assured product. Really, like, so there are policymakers out there who'll be looking over or voting upon Gino Kenny's bill. Guys, really, come on, the opportunity, if you want to help people, is now. If you vote against this bill, like, you're really showing your true colours, like, that you have no interest in public health and safety and just improving our society and be more progressive. You want to continue with this fucking draconian type of policy where we're going to demonise and stigmatise and discriminate people based solely upon their choice to consume a plant material, like, and extracts and things that come from that plant. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, what a horrible society we've to exist in. Like, I'm not happy with it, and this is why I'm here with you on the podcast, expressing these views and opinions in the hope that it might contribute to changing something someday. We'll see. So onwards, guys, we go. So we're going to hop across the pond there to England, where the grandparents of a young boy, or a young man, had to pay off a significant drug debt as it got out of control. So this was a case that was up before the courts there in the UK, and it's coming from Nottingham. And basically, grandparents had to pay off a drug debt of Kane Newton, who, it says here, he's 25, and he pleaded guilty to possession with the intent to supply cannabis at Nottingham Crown Court. The court heard how he had the best drugs among the group of friends, and that the gang would usually sell and share them with each other. And that's a common thing that actually happens, isn't it, really? Like, one person gets the cannabis within the group and he shares it out with his friends. Ah, man, this really annoys me when you're seeing things like this, and how that grows then from there. You know, it starts, for myself, in my own experience, it started with an ounce a week. I would get an ounce at the end of the week, and I would share that with my friends, and then before I knew it, or halfway through the week, my friends might ask me, Martin, can you get another ounce there, look, and I'll sort you out Friday. And you would, you know, and that changed it. Then you're getting 2 ounces a week, and then it's 3 ounces a week, you know, and 4, and, you know, it just escalates out of there, because it's so tempting, really. When I was doing it, I was like, oh, I get a free quarter every time I could buy an ounce. And then at the end of the week, when I had 2 ounces, or that was 2 free quarters that week, I was like, oh, great. Next week, it was 3 free quarters and 4. And before I knew it, then, like, those free quarters were becoming profit afterwards. Like, and, like, as a young person, like, I was 17, 18 at the time. Like, I didn't really know any better as such. It was just so fucking tempting, really. Like, and this is a prime example of it. Like, and why prohibition is deadly, because of how the gangs that people get indebted to will enforce the payments, afterwards if a person isn't to come up with it. If I ever got caught with all of the hash or the cannabis that I was dealing at the time, I would have been in a sticky situation where I was very unable to pay for it because I was getting it on tick. I would get it on tick, I would sell enough of it to pay back for it, and then I would have a surplus there that I could have for myself. Sometimes I would make a bit of extra money. Sometimes I would just have the cannabis there. That was enough for me. That's the only reason I was doing it at the time. But Jesus, it escalated. Like I was getting the kilos at one stage. Like, that's 8,000 or based on the court's values, that's 20,000 euros worth. And that's a big debt to be getting into. And as I say, I was 17, 18 at the time. I was unable to pay that. I wasn't making that sort of money at all. To think about it, like, geez, the silly carry on that we were doing back then, and how shitty situations I could have been in. But anyhow, the article goes on to say that, but then things spiraled out of control and he became a significant street dealer, as I said, before being caught red-handed by the police officers. Prosecutor Dawn Pritchard told the court that on September 12, 2019, police attended a property over concerns for a small child. When they arrived, they smelled cannabis. The defendant told them that they were not coming in and tried to push the door closed, and police gained entry and found large bags of the drug. In total, there were 140 grams of cannabis with a street value of £2,000. Newton, who had no previous convictions, was arrested by police and pleaded guilty on February the 14th of last year. He appeared before Nottingham Crown Court on Wednesday, January 6th, for sentencing. And Digby Johnson, defending Newton, said that he was hanging out with a group of friends who started to use cannabis, where one week someone would get some and so on. He said Newton was able to access the better cannabis and became the one that bought it for them. He can see it got out of control and can't believe how quickly it had. As I just alluded to, I just shared my own experience there on this, and here it goes as it's getting into the article following on a very similar circumstance, except he got caught, I didn't. Mr. Johnson said he is now working 5 days a week hoping to buy a property and has the full support of his grandparents. He said he has his life and taking a different course. Recorder Miss whatever anyway said Newton had got into an unpleasant situation in drug dealing and that he owed money too. You escalated your drug dealing from your property, and there was also concerns for a small child in the property who was upstairs. Smoking cannabis in front of children is not a good thing. It does not matter that they were upstairs or downstairs. I can see it is a matter you regret. You were street dealing at a significant level. Your grandparents had to pay off a significant debt to your suppliers, and Recorder Pryor handed Newton a 16 months prison sentence, suspended for 2 years, and to carry out 120 hours of unpaid work. So interesting here, like they used the child as an excuse to come in and invade this man's privacy. Like really, like was the child really in danger because of the cannabis? Possibly because of maybe the dealers, like yeah, possibly. So, but then that's an argument for prohibition. Like surely prohibition is the cause of this child being in danger, because if prohibition didn't exist, you wouldn't have these gangs selling the cannabis, and you wouldn't have this young fella selling it from his house. You know, it's the issue is prohibition. Like prohibition has given the police an excuse to they come in and say like, oh, you're putting this child in danger. Like I would hate to see the situation where like a good parent is deemed a bad parent because they use cannabis and their child is taken off them as a result of that. Like what fucking damage is being done to those kids when that sort of a situation arises? Like it's horrible to imagine. It really is horrible to imagine. And this sort of thing, it's all because of prohibition. Again, when you go down to it, a young fella getting caught up in it. He was getting a bag a week for him and his friends, and before he knew it, it turned to 2 bags, 3 bags, 4 bags, and sure, before he knew it, he had 140 grams of cannabis in his room, you know, and the cops came and raided him. Absolutely horrible. Like I can only imagine the situation that might have ensued with the dealers, you know, the fact that the grandparents had to pay the debt. There must have been some pressure being applied there to them, you know, and the court doing nothing then to help it, because you as a victim of this, you just fuck all you can do. You can't go to the cops and say, oh, these guys are hassling me for the £2,000 I owe them for the cannabis you stole off me. The cops are going to laugh at you. That's all they're going to do. They're not going to help you. Really, like, do you honestly think that the cops are going to help anybody in this situation? What, they're going to put some active guards outside of your door? Is it in 24-hour patrol following you everywhere you go? No, like, they're not going to happen. The cops cannot help you. Get that into your heads, guys. Prohibition puts us all in incredible danger like that, because they cannot help you. If you go to the cops, like, you're actually in much more fucking danger than if you didn't go to the cops. You're better off just paying the debt, as this guy so rightly did, because otherwise, you know, these guys break legs, break up houses. It's just horrible, the situation people get forced into because of prohibition. And then another one, right? Another because of fucking prohibition, but not just prohibition this time. This is also bloody Brexit coming into the play here. So we've been hearing a lot about Brexit there coming up to December 31st when Britain leaves Europe. And this is the result of that now. So Brexit is stopping life-saving medicinal cannabis drug supply for epileptic boy. Pictured here we have Alfie Dingley with his parents, and also pictured there along with him is Sir Patrick Stewart, who also uses cannabis. Patrick Stewart admitted to using medicinal cannabis to help with his arthritis symptoms. He got that information out there back in 2017, I believe that information came out. And since then, he's kind of been a bit of a campaigner for the medicinal, for the access to medicinal cannabis, especially for the young children in Britain, where there's many of them. You know, I think there's over 90 kids there now at the moment who are currently reliant on the delivery of this medication, and that's all to stop now because of Brexit. Horrible situation for these kids to be in. So the mother of the 9-year-old boy in the UK says she fears for his life after his access to medical cannabis drug was cut off because of Brexit. Alfie Dingley suffers from a severe form of epilepsy that used to lead to 150 seizures a week, and his mother campaigned successfully for British doctors to be allowed to prescribe medicinal cannabis in 2017. So Alfie Dingley here was one of the pioneer kids, you know, the first kids credited with the access to cannabis in the UK, because of the heavy-handed campaigning by the parents of his, especially his mother, like, you know, and incredible work that they do, you know, despite all the time and the extra care that Alfie needs, they still manage to find the time to get out there and to fight for the access to this medicine. Absolutely incredible stuff and inspirational. But the article goes on to say then that, but in a later dated 15th of December, the Department of Health of Social Care said that dispensing finished cannabis oil products from the Netherlands is against prescriptions from the UK prescribers is no longer an option from January 1st, 2021 because of Brexit. So Hanny Deacon, the mother of 9-year-old Alfie, has said that she is furious that the government only gave 2 weeks' notice of this change and called the termination of the supply terrifying. So the government are terrifying. Like, do you know what I mean? That's terrorism. That's straight up terrorism from the government, what they're doing here to these people. And it's only because of prohibition that they're able to do it. They said that they understand our concern, but they can't do anything. Well, let me tell them, it's not concerning. It is terrifying, she said. Deacon says medicinal cannabis products saved her son's life, and he is now seizure-free because of them. She rushed to secure about 2 months' worth of medicine before the end of the Brexit transition period, but adds that this is not long at all. She said that she was really angry about the lack of time they were given and the lack of empathy by the authorities, saying that being told simply to swap to another medicine was grossly unacceptable. And it's fucking unacceptable. Like, it's discrimination what they're making them do. It's very, very dangerous, and I'm really frightened about what is going to happen, she said. Campaigners have also raised concerns over the termination of the medicinal cannabis supplies from the Netherlands to the UK, calling it a matter of life and death for at least 40 children with a similar condition to Alfie. Neurologist Mike Barnes also said that the urgency of the situation is not being exaggerated at all, and 1 in 2 of these children will die if the medication is cut. That's a massive number. So 50% of these kids, let's say they have, in Alfie's situation, 2 months. So in 2 months, without medication, you could see 50%, like 20 of those 40 kids could die. And they're okay with that. Like, they're okay with that over there because, sure, it's cannabis there. Sure, forget about them. Let them off. Like, imagine, like, that is horrible to think of. A Department of Health and Social Care spokesperson said that we sympathise with patients dealing with challenging conditions, and there is a range of alternative cannabis-based medicines available to the UK patients. But what the people in the department aren't acknowledging or are aware of is the fact that, like, switching the medication that's not an easy thing to do. You have to ensure that there's consistency there between the two medication supplies, and it isn't. Bedrocan have their own patented, or whatever you would say, like, it's a very specific form of cannabinoids in an oil. They also have their own flowers and stuff like that there as well, but I believe all these kids are on one of these oils, and it's a very specific blend of THC and CBD, along with the full spectrum of all the other cannabinoids, terpenes, flavonoids, and everything else that would be extracted in the full plant extracts. And then they switch them over to another one that could have the same THC and CBD, but the terpene profile could be different, and that in itself like could be a major difference to these kids, because the terpenes, like, while it's not known yet the importance of their role, it is acknowledged that they do play a role and they do contribute to the efficacy of these medicines. So it's something that we have to be aware of, like that the transition to change from one medicine to the other, like while it could be the same THC and CBD, like the other compounds that are being excluded, that could be the result of more seizures for these kids, and more seizures means more likelihood of death, unfortunately. So I really hope that situation gets sorted out over there in the UK, and I'm hoping to get in touch with some of those parents and to have them on the podcast soon to try to just help them to highlight the dangerous situation that they find themselves in yet again, where their supply to cannabis is in question. You know, they're stuck in limbo. Horrible. But look, we'll go on from there, and again, all the best to those parents over there, to Alfie and to all of the other kids, and I really do hope that the situation is sorted out, and that you know, your parents can get the peace of mind that they deserve. They fought long and hard enough to get access to medical cannabis, and that they have it tarnished now because of the silliness of Brexit. Stupid. Like, if people are to die because of Brexit, like, jeez, man, that is horrible. And only because of these imaginary silly bloody borders and stuff, that a person can't get a medicine sent from one country to another because they're not in this union of Europe. Oh man, give me a break. Like, us humans are silly bloody creatures. We go onwards, guys. We're going to hop on across the pond over to America, where we have the Senate. So basically, I reported on it there last year, that the MORE Act was up at the House of Congress, I believe is the name for it, but it got voted past the House of Congress anyway, and it is now finding its way to the Senate. And many believed that it was going to be dead on arrival into the Senate based on the current layout of the Senate, because the Senate is currently majority Republican. Its 52 seats are currently held by Republicans and 48 by Democrats. But there was a vote there in Georgia the results are kind of coming out today. I'm going to quickly check if they've been finalised, because they weren't finalised as of going live earlier. But we have two candidates, we have two seats up. 1 second now. We have two seats up there. One is for Senate Georgia. Sorry, guys, Googling, multitasking here. So the results are in, and yeah, they're not finished yet. So there is there's Raphael Warnock, who is the man on the left here, as you see him. Oh no, I don't have their pictures up yet, actually, so forgive me. So there they are. So the man pictured on the left here is Raphael Warnock, and he is confirmed as after winning his seat, and he is a Democrat. And we also have John Ossoff, who is on his right, and he is currently in the lead and is due to be announced as the winner soon. But there is still counting going on there. He's in the lead with 50.2%, I believe, and his opponent is behind with 49.8%. But it is believed that he will win the vote, which will give the Democrats a split of power in the House of the Senate. So that would be 50 seats for the Republicans and 50 seats for the Democrats. Now, guys, why is this important? Well, as I said, many believe that the MORE Act would have been dead on arrival into the Senate. But because of this now, this split, if there is a vote on the MORE Act and it's deadlocked, if there's a 50-50, if the Republicans vote against and the Democrats all vote for, then that'll be a deadlock, and the vice president, then the incumbent vice president, will be Kamala Harris, and she will get the deciding vote then on that deadlock. And guys, Kamala Harris is a sponsor of the MORE Act, so there is like a very high chance, and I love the pun incredibly intended there, that this will pass. So that's an amazing thing. This is great news, I think, because if this passes in the US, if the MORE Act is successful and gets passed, it will deschedule cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 4, effectively decriminalising it federally, which is huge. That has massive implications then across the world, because now we'll have Canada, we'll have the US and Uruguay, and they're three nations, a part of the United Nations, that have legalised cannabis in defiance of the United Nations Treaty on Narcotics. So I really hope that this does pass. I will be keeping an eye out for when this does get to the Senate floor and is voted upon. I'll try to go live again and stream that out there for yourselves, to witness it happen live, and hopefully it will be a positive outcome. So it will be an incredible thing to happen, and I believe it will have knock-on effects. If let's say in January or February this finds its way to the Senate floor and gets voted upon and gets voted past, and then Gino Kenny's bill gets put forward in maybe February, or want someone there in the coming, this will have massive implications for that, because our government cannot ignore the fact that the American government have just federally decriminalized cannabis, or federally even legalized it, you could go to say. So incredible one to watch. Really good news there with the outcome of that vote in Georgia, with Raphael Warnock and Usaf, what's his surname? Or John Usaf. Usaf was his surname. So well done to those guys there, and I will continue to watch that as things develop there in the US. So other news then, guys, and it's the final story, I believe, for you today. Yeah, final story for you today, guys, I believe, and it is bringing us to the Caribbean islands of Trinidad and Tobago. So here you are. I've never been, and I hope to visit the Caribbean someday. But Trinidad and Tobago, you will find it just off the coast of Venezuela, I believe. That's just off the coast of. But why they're making the news today is because their parliament is going to be voting or debating. I'm not too sure how they do things down there, but they have a bill also before them that is seeking to legalise cannabis down there, which will be amazing, that thing to happen down there, if it is to happen. So the Cannabis Control Bill of 2020 to regulate the cannabis business in the Trinidad and Tobago will be the subject of public consultations in the coming year, according to the Attorney General Faris Al-Rabi. Butchering his surname, apologies. Both houses of Parliament had sent the bill to a joint select committee chaired by the Attorney General and set it up on the November 9th, and they were due to report at the end of the year, but in mid-December they sought for a 3-month extension, probably using COVID or something like that. Maybe it was slowing them down, possibly, who knows. The Attorney General then said that in the next year we will have to look forward to in Parliament on the agenda. So they have a lot to look forward to in Parliament on the agenda. So they have a lot of bills here, and he kind of goes on to list them. There's bills on the Revenue Authority, the National Statistics Institute, gaming legislation, and then the final one he mentions was the Cannabis Control Bill. And he goes on to say, and he says that the Cannabis Control Bill, with that you will see some very significant public consultations come into the mix as we begin very early in the new year. So there seems like there's a bit of heat in this, that they're eager to get this done, and rightly so. That it seems like they've delayed it once already, so it seems like once they get into the new year, they're going to be hitting the floor running, and hopefully we'll see cannabis legalization in another country. He said there are further issues we have to dive into, which will involve a lot of what the country has to say in response to these issues. He said but he was not confident the opposition would act differently than before in Parliament, but he said that he will persevere despite any such opposition. And he says that I think the best of our days are ahead of us. So he's very optimistic there as to the outcome of this bill. He is aware that the opposition are going to put up some resistance to the acceptance of this bill. But it is worth noting that back in 2018 in Trinidad and Tobago, they decriminalised cannabis. So they decriminalised in Trinidad and Tobago, you can now grow up to 4 plants in your home without any criminal repercussions. You can consume cannabis in private spaces. It is still illegal to consume cannabis in any public spaces in Trinidad and Tobago, but they have granted exemptions for places for people to come and I think they believe they call them places of worship and stuff like that. So I'm not too sure exactly what the scene is down there on the floor, but there certainly is venues where people can go and acquire cannabis and consume it also, and they can also grow it in their own home privately without fear of any interference by the outside authorities, which is rightly so. We should all be entitled to that privacy of our homes. Like if you were to grow cannabis in your house, and you're in a situation, that young fella there in Nottingham, because the cops know there's a child in the house and you're growing cannabis. Oh my god! But let's go in there and take the kids off them and put them into a foster care facility because the cannabis plant might fucking uproot some night and go up and strangle the kid. I don't know, man. I really don't know. But like it's positive news there again, that there's more change happening around the world. And Trinidad and Tobago could be the next country we get the report on legalising cannabis with the passage of the Cannabis Control Bill of 2020. So I will keep an eye on Trinidad and Tobago. I will have more reports on that as things come out of there. So guys, that is the final piece of today's 420 news. Kept it a little bit shorter today. I have another interview with fellow activist Dana Larson shortly. Dana Larson is a Canadian activist. I became aware of him because of his Overgrow the Government campaign that began back in 2016, where he was sending cannabis seeds for free to people for them to overgrow the government. And I really look forward to this chat in a minute with Dana Larson. I hope we get some calls to action out of him maybe, and some inspirational stuff, and hopefully we just motivate people to get out there, guys, because currently the way it is, our government needs to be forced for this to happen, for this bill that Gino Kenny's going to put forward to be supported. They're going to have to be forced. There's no other way that cannabis legalization is going to happen without us, the people, actually getting out there and giving them no choice but to do it. We do it peacefully, but we will be committing acts of civil disobedience, guys. Just remember, you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. And I'm ready to break some eggs. Guys, happy 420 anyway. I one or two bowls before the start of the show, and I'm gonna, before I get to the comments, just lash one more into me. We got a lovely bowl here of some fine herb. Hopefully you can hear me. Fine herb. And cracked up the sound a little bit there so you could get an old belt of the bong effect. No, you're all probably well aware of what it sounds like now at this stage with the entrance or the intro to the show. So we'll head on over, guys, to the to the comments. Let's see what's happening out there. Can't you see the red light is on? What red light? Afternoon, Martin. So that's coming in there from Percy's Greenbird, and he says, "Can't you see the red light is on?" And I'm lost. What red light? Did I feck up somewhere? Did I leave a red light on? But yeah, let me know what you mean there by "Can't you see the red light is on?" Was I live or something and talking in the background? Maybe. Who knows? Oisin says, "Evening, Martin. Such a shame." And Graham DeBarra adds in there, right, Graham, man, what's happening? He says, grow two plans, keep a legal fund, and if caught, challenge this to the Supreme Court level for invasion of privacy and no health risk to society. Would be very interesting, he says. Man, that's an incredible plan there to have. So what Graham is suggesting out there, guys, is that grow two plants and keep a fund there, a legal fund, so you can have enough money to pay for a barrister, I believe you would need, and some other money there for the Supreme Court, and to challenge it based on your right to privacy and the fact that there's no health risk to society based on your actions that you were growing cannabis for your own personal use. So a very good recommendation coming in from Graham there, guys, and certainly a guy to listen to when it comes to preparing yourself legally anyway. Robert adds in the UK medical cannabis 28 grams 80. So is that the cost? 28G is €80. I'm not too sure there what you mean, Robert, but a nice one for your comment nonetheless. But Oisin adds in there, when you start growing, you'll never want to stop. It is, man. It's addictive, and you know what else happens is you want to grow other things. You'll find yourself having rosemary, thyme, and all sorts of other plants and herbs appearing around your house and your garden. Percy adds in here then, and guys, check out High and Homegrown podcast as well. Amazing stuff that the lads do over there in their podcast. Percy adds in there that I've had this argument about the number of plants in a personal grow. Like you, I think 4 to 6 is a perfect number of plants. This follows Dr. Peter Grinspoon, a daily recommendation or a daily recommended intake of 2.575 grams per day. I try to get that a day. Not far off it anyway. Like some days you're hitting 1 gram, other days you're hitting 3 grams. Just depending on the day that's in it. I know when I used to be in college before, man, I used to smoke so much less. I used to get up in the morning and have my coffee. I would have maybe 2 or 3 bowls before I'd head off into college. And I wouldn't smoke cannabis again till I got home later that day. So I would smoke maybe half a gram before I left that morning, and I would probably smoke another half a gram that evening maybe. So it was about a gram a day then, and that was consistent there for the 4 years. Just, I never smoked during the day out in college. Just could never bring it with me. The stuff is too smelly to have in my pocket. Robert Byrne adds in here, he was clarifying that Sapphire Medical Cannabis is 28 grams, is £80. Very interesting. And Sapphire Medical are also the guys who were involved with the project 2021, I believe, or 2020. I can't remember the name of it. The UK cannabis or cannabis medical cannabis patient kind of program or study that they're doing. Don't think it's a study. Not too sure what exactly it is, but they're getting people cannabis there for a lot cheaper than what they're able to get it on the black market anyway. Don't think you'll be getting an ounce on the black market for £80. And Percy adds in here that he got an ounce today for 300 and he was ecstatic. And you should be too, man, because it's kind of like hen's teeth out there at the moment. These 300 odd ounces, from what I can see anyway. But maybe I'm just connected to the wrong people. I'd be watching the lads on Snapchat there and on few of the Instagram things. The lads on Instagram don't throw up their prices, but the lads on Snapchat always throw up their prices. And the averages up there is about 125 to 150 per quarter. So you got a nice old deal there for yourself, Percy. Happy fucking days, man, and I hope it was quality bud too. Norman Flanagan adds in here that I'm growing mine in the bog in Ireland. You taking after your buddy Ming? Are you related to Ming at all there, Norman? I suppose you probably get asked that quite a bit maybe, but he was growing his in the bog as well. He has a good video up on YouTube where he had the plant out in the bog and he's bringing the lads out to show him it. Fair play, like. Oisin says a good wash needed afterwards. Is that for the plants? Is it? Not all clean away from the pigs. There's some replies. Sorry about the replies. The replies don't make sense when I'm kind of seeing it. Percy adds in there as well that he's starting a thread about gorilla growing in Ireland on percysgrowroom.com. Please add your experience and advice if you can, guys. It would be much appreciated. And he has a link there as well in the comments. So go check out that thread he has. That'll be a very interesting thread to be sure. I believe I seen a video there not too long ago with you, Percy, out in a boat checking out an island out by a loch near you or something like that. Really cool, man. I look forward to seeing some photos there as we get into the springtime and summertime from those adventures. I might join you. I might have to find a few gorilla growing spots myself down here. Certainly I'd out a few, alright, but I never actually went out and committed to it. This could be the year, man. We'll see. No, we will. I'm committing right now. I'm committing. Gorilla growing everywhere, right outside the Anglesey Street Guard Station. Krisham adds in, I literally watched that documentary as well last night about the toxic weed in Germany, and it's crazy what's going on over there. The cops are outnumbered 50 to 1 or something like that. Unsafe as hell. And there you go, man. 50 to 1. Yeah, that is the number that they put out there on that documentary last night, that it's a losing fight. Like, we just the best way to do it is to regulate it, and the dealers know this. This is why the dealers aren't here, like, because they don't want you to regulate it, because they can sell their cannabis tax free at the moment, and they don't even have to give people proper employee rights, and all this crack. So yeah, John adds in, grow your own if you can't grow guerrilla style. There you go, boys. Check out Percy's Grow Room as well. There's going to be plenty of tips and stuff up there for your guerrilla growing needs. Grow at 100% profit then. Yeah, there you go. Like, that's it. And like, if you're just growing it for yourself, like, and you got cannabis yourself, the profits in not having to buy it, Like the money you save and not having to buy cannabis is incredible. Um, Oisin says he remembers when he first started smoking it, me and the lads would wait 3 hours just for 25 bag out in the cold. That's it, like you're getting 5 minutes there, yeah, 5 minutes, and about 3 hours later, and the dealer then shows up, like, yeah, 5 minutes is it, yeah, nice one, bud. Do you know, fucking customer service, some of them was terrible. And you've nowhere to complain then afterwards. um, what's happening out there, Keith, man? Nice one for the comment. And Christian as well, he says, well, Feely, any news, man? Keith adds in there, we need more fire in us to get those sorted first and for all to stand together and let's get this done. I agree with you, man. That's it. Power in the community. Like, the people have the power. That's the main thing we have to remember. Like, is the people have the power. Damien Barry adds in there, he says, fair play, brother, great points, keep her lit, and someday, please God, someday soon, man, really, I really do believe someday soon we're going to see some change. This is why in Mayor, like, I'm trying to get the community together, because like that change needs to be influenced by us. You know, we can't let these dudes in the suits up there make it, because they're going to bring in the canopy growths and the Tilleries and the likes of them. And nothing against those companies, that they do good things. I just don't think those companies are interested in us having a right to grow our own cannabis in our own back garden. And I believe if we're to leave them influence our policies and not us, the people, the community influence it, then sadly we're going to get policies that benefit the guys who want to make money more than the community who just want good quality cannabis for a low price too. Percy adds in, very informative as always, brother. Keep up the good work. Same to yourselves out there as well, lads. You know, it's a nice one for coming along as well, and for all the comments, Percy, man. I hopefully get to catch up with yourselves again soon sometime. I'm gonna have to pop into one of your you kind of have hangouts there every now and again. You'll have to message me a link there for a month sometime, and we'll come and chat again, because it's always good to chat with fellow stoners. Keith adds in, let's break them eggs. Let's break them eggs. Let's do it, man. Let's make some omelets. Keith Griffin adds in, I've been waking and baking all day, brother. Happy days, man. Happy days. I've been doing a bit of that myself. I also got out for my first run of the year as well today, man, and it was really good to get out there. Fucking, I really missed it, because I've been just kind of, as I said, I was feeling really burnt out towards the end of the year, and I was waking up in the morning, man, and it was straight into activism. You know, whereas before I would take a bit of time to go do a bit of exercise and a bit of mindfulness and stuff like that, and I was just really being consumed by all of this. So I'm trying to get a bit more of a healthier habit now going into the new year. And yeah, man, we'll be getting out for those runs on the daily. But having a smoke before a run is incredible as well, man. Getting into that flow state in the zone, like a little hit of cannabis before a nice long run, is fucking incredible. Um, Percy says here that you were telling your missus or the kids were going live at the start. Yes, I was thinking that happened, all right, because I never hit the mute button. Yeah, you're dead right, man. You well spotted. Yeah, that'll get edited out afterwards anyway, because I always trim the videos. But well spotted, bud. So you were there early, boy, and fair play for hanging on as well. It's always good to have people stay for the whole live. I tried to keep them within the hour. We're 15 minutes in there now. We're not doing too bad today. Other comments coming in there as well, as Paul says that no problems buying 63% alcohol whiskey and paracetamol, and you can't buy a joint. They're right, man. And this is the issue I have when it comes down to, say, limiting the amount of cannabis you can walk around the street with. Let's say the Green Party's policy was 5 grams. Like, I'm not too sure what's going to be in Gino Kenny's, like, but if I can go into the off license and I can buy 2, 3, 4 litres of vodka, no limit there. Like, what is the actual limit? I can go in and probably buy a box of vodka. I know I can. I've never tried it. I've never needed it. I've never wanted it, but I know I probably could. So why are we going to say it for cannabis that you can only buy an ounce? You can only have an ounce in you at any one time, because if you have 2 ounces, you're a criminal and you're selling it. That's discrimination, lads, and we can't let these kind of policies happen. Don't get me wrong, I will be very happy if I can walk down the street and carry an ounce, but I still will have a bit of a passion inside me for the ability to have no limit on the amount of cannabis I can walk down the street with, similar to alcohol, you know? I don't have a desire to walk down the street with kilos of cannabis at all, don't get me wrong, like, you know, but why limit us? It's just discrimination on our community. We have to be thinking that way, really, really do. Otherwise, I said it to your man Connor there yesterday, Connor McLeod. Check out that interview on the Canaman TV too. That went live earlier today. But I was saying to him, like, the cannabis community in a way is like the elephant chained, to the peg. And when that elephant gets freed, he doesn't realize he's free from the chains, and he doesn't push the boundaries of his existence at that time. Then we would be the same. We're the elephant chained, and the chain has been the prohibition. It's kept us shackled, and it gets lifted. But it comes with like, oh, but you're only allowed 5 grams. You're only allowed an ounce, and we're like, yay, that's great. But not realizing, sure, there's a whole boundary to be pushed there. Like we're free. What's with these limits? Like we're free. No, we're free. So let's push the boundaries. Let's not be the proverbial elephant on the chain with the peg. So we're getting to the end of the comments as always, and it's a pleasure, to guys, to be reading so many from you. It's really good. Keith says that's a good idea, but and Percy adds in there that he has bought a pallet broken down of whiskey and vodka and wine and Dunn stores last Christmas. Oh, you bought a whiskey, a vodka, and stuff in Dunn's, man. There you go. There you fucking go. A whiskey of it. Like, I'd say you still have quite a bit of it. So, are we doing extracts maybe? He says it's not for him. It was gifts. He doesn't even drink. Fair play, man. But he was free to buy it without any problem. And this is what I'm saying, like, guys, we have to remember that the proverbial elephant in the chain. Let's not become that. Let's not become that. Let's not change this form of prohibition to another form. The idea of legalization should really be freedom. Freedom to grow plants without any limitations set upon you. Any real limitations at all, like, because I can brew a pile of alcohol at the moment. The amount of alcohol that I have to brew before I breach any regulations, it's humongous. It really is humongous. So the cannabis should be treated the same way. If it's not, it's discrimination. They're saying we can't trust these cannabis consumers. If they grow 7 plants, they're going to start selling it, and they're going to be criminals, and they're going to undermine the market. No. If I want to grow 12 plants, like, maybe I want to stagger it. I want to flower one a plant every week, and I want to stagger them. Like, why can't I be free to experiment like this? And Percy knows all about this stuff. Like, he knows all about the world of experimenting and the botanists and being just being a grower, because he's a grower here in Ireland who breaks the law and does so. But there's a whole passion that comes with being a cannabis grower. Like, and if you can only grow 6 plants when it's legalized, like, that's really going to limit the passion, to some extent anyway, like, in my opinion. So, guys, that's it. Stoner Dan, last comment in there. It's a sheep eating some grass. Nice one, Stoner Dan. It's a pleasure, man. I'm still up there, that tag team match, man. Once the wrestling is back up as well, but keep me in mind. Stoner Dan and Ganja Man. But guys, until next time, I'll be back with you Friday for some more 420 news. Keep an eye out for an interview. As I say, I'll be interviewing Dana Larson, a fellow cannabis activist from Canada, later on this evening. And that interview hopefully will be going out if I get the editing and stuff done, maybe early tomorrow morning. Fucking rendering on the laptop is slow as shit, so I'll get the edits done tonight. I'll hit the render. It'll probably take 3 or 4 hours to render, and I'll post it then in the morning, guys. So keep an eye out for that. And I have a few other interviews there as well. I've one on Friday, possibly with Gary Hughes, yet to be confirmed. Gary Hughes runs he ran, I believe, I'm not too sure if it's still active, a cannabis cafe in Liverpool. So another fellow cannabis activist pushing the boundaries and not afraid to commit a bit of civil disobedience. Fair play to him. Hopefully get to chat with him on Friday. On Saturday, then, I get to reverse the roles with Conor McLeod from Canaman TV. I'll be interviewing himself. So quite a bit lined up there for the week ahead, and for the following weeks I will make announcements as we get closer to those things, guys. But again, as always, guys, keep her lit, guys, and stay blazed. Oh, look at that amazing greenness. I hope you guys are enjoying some quality herb as well. Beautiful. So guys, until next time, love you all. Peace.